Afternoon everybody, welcome back to Sprocket Man Designs. Okay, got a little bit further with my crazed mop idea. As you can see, I've bolted on a grid. You can just see the base of the bolt there, or head of the bolt, call it what you will. Luckily for me, there were two hooks on the bottom of the motor's mounting plate that fitted into this grid quite nicely and actually lined up with the bolt hole, so I made the most of it and joined them together. You join me now as I'm about to take an angle grinder to it. There's a surprise, me attacking something with a grinder. What I propose to do is cut across here to create a base plate, and you might, it's not quite in shot, but there is actually a loop on the end of it that I think with a little bit of tinkering and special magic words will allow me to put a guard up over that spinning fan so I don't actually injure myself. Yeah, right, okay. So, I've actually already put the correct cutting disc on the angle grinder, and I've turned the power on, just to scare you. Here we go. Something's wrong, I've not set fire to myself. I do appear to have dropped a piece of steel for my solar spinner, but oh well, what the hell. Set fire to that bridge down the road. Oh no, there it is. Just fell in there. Is it? No, that's a cut off. Oh well, sort that out down the road a bit. So, okay. I was wondering why that wasn't standing straight. It's the remains of the splined bit I cut off yesterday. In order to try and make this just a fraction safer, what I'm going to do is just use a cable tie through a loop here and around the power lead. The reason I'm going to use, actually I'm going to use two, but that'll make more sense when you see it. The reason I'm using cable ties, very simply, is they don't do any harm to the power cable. So we put one through that way, and then the second creates a loop that actually physically connects with the cable. And then it's just a matter of pulling everything down until it's nice and snug. Do like that word, always reminds me of the pub. You just trim off the excess from there, like that. Now we've got a nice stable little motor mount, and I'm now toying with securing the cable there, and to hell with creating a guard. I'll have to consider that. So I think the next thing to do is test fit the mop and see if it spins properly. So here's a mop, 150mm mop from the gods at Machine Mart. It was helped by two very nice gentlemen there earlier today. Manufactured from pure cotton. It's a 12mm bore, so hopefully this is just going to squeeze on. And that's interesting. That splined bit I mentioned yesterday rotates. So I think what we're going to have to do is test it. Okay, so far so good. I know I haven't disconnected the bolts to this, but yeah, as I suspected. Right. Down, eagle, down. Right. The problem we've now got is because that splined section can rotate. Yeah, there you go. I think, I'm not entirely certain how I'm going to resolve that. Unless I could just put a blob of weld on it, couldn't I? It is hellishly thin though. I'm endangering putting a blob of weld on it. Is that it might just melt through it. Unless I use my soldering gear. Okay, I'm going to go and get that, I'll be back with you momentarily. Okay, so what you can see there is a pot of flux, and there it goes. Ah, stupid. Yeah. Soldering iron is currently warming up. What I've done with the aforementioned flux is just put a little spot of it where I intend to put the solder on. It just gives it a better contact. And then we just got to hope and pray that this works. I mean, if it does, great, it solves the problem there and then. Right, soldering iron's just coming up to operating temperature. It's not quite there yet. There we go, it's ready. So would be so much easier if I had any functioning nerve ends left. Don't know why I jumped in, because that's not hot. Maybe I was waiting for it to be. I do like the smell of solder as it melts. I know you shouldn't, but there's just something rather nice about it. Right, let's get that unplugged so she can start cooling down. And when she's cooling down, we'll put her somewhere nice and safe, out of the way, or I can't inadvertently stick my fingers on it. Right, so like my welding, it's not perfect, but I am rather hoping that that will be sufficient. Oops. Yeah, that's not moving. The question now will be whether that's firm enough or a big enough diameter to prevent the mop spinning on the spindle. So once again, let's get that turning. Okay. The next problem I've noticed it's not quite thick enough. It's moving around on the spindle. Bit of an annoyance, however, not something insurmountable. I actually believe I'm going to cheat like mad on this one. Now you might be shocked to hear that this isn't actually gaffer tape. It's a similar product, but this is Gorilla Tape, and that was shameless product placement. I've not really worked with this stuff much. I'm not even sure how we came by it. But I found it in the house and thought that'll do for what I want. So there you go, you can see what I'm messing about with now. So far I've added a little bit of solder there to stop the splines turning, only to discover the internal diameter of the mop is just a fraction on the small side. And you might just be able to hear the neighbours chatting in the background. So hopefully now, in doing that, I'll have in fact made it a fraction too big for the centre diameter. Which means that when I come to put the mop head on, it'll bind up really tightly. Or if I've gone too far, it means I've now got an award-winning fight on my hands. I've got a fight, I can already tell. I'd rather it be a tight fit, if I'm honest with you. There we go. Alright, so is this third time lucky? On your marks, get set, test. Now I am putting quite a lot of force on here, and it's worked beautifully. I think down the road a bit what I will do is put some sort of switch onto this, mostly because having to spin it, then plug it in so it revs up, quite frankly, is a pain. I think the next stage of testing will involve dropping the plug. Let's try that again without an attack of stupid. There we go. So, which one of these? The next trick, I will get into the packaging. No, I won't. So, this is a 4-piece buffing compound set. I'm assuming, actually I don't know which colour's which, but apart from the white one, which is red and white. Red is for fine polishing of precious metals. All metals are precious. White is for a high shine finish, that's nice. I'm guessing the black one is the one they call emery, and the brownish one is the one they call tripoli. Why couldn't they just call it brown? Is that asking too much to apply logic? So, let's get the white one out. That is the one that I am most interested in. Do I pull that apart? Okay, so here's a piece of metal I've been messing about with, just polishing up, seeing what I can do. What I'm going to now do is get this thing spinning again, apply some of the white polishing compound to the mop, push that up against it, see what it comes out like. We have 2 chances, so that's the bump start of the mop completed. I'll just pull this back a fraction so you can see what I'm messing about at. As you can see, it just takes a layer of the polishing compound into the cotton, and then think I've discovered I've done that in the wrong order. I probably need to start off with a coarser one first to take out the imperfections. So let's do that. So it's got to be that one. Oh no, that works. Yeah, that works a treat. Right. Okay. So, in conclusion, I'm actually really happy with what I've managed to Frankenstein together here. Defeated by plastic packaging. Right, what was I dribbling on about? Oh yeah. Really happy with what I've achieved here with this. What I might do is, just using a thin electrical tape, build up a stop on the back of this so the mop can't move across and just brush the motor mount. Yeah, probably do that eventually. The other thing I think I'm going to have to do is, as I said in the last video, just flex these out slightly while you're not watching, just to see if I can increase the motor speed. Not hugely, but I don't think we're going quite fast enough at present. So we've got a buffing compound set, and on the back it says, always wear eye protection when using chiselling, drilling or hammering tools. Which doesn't apply to this at all. Weird. Oh well. Right, so I'm going to pop you on hold again, goof about with these vanes, see what it achieves. Well, no, I won't. What I'll do is I will flex them into a more workable shape, so these will be being bent back this way a little bit. That should also provide a cooling action for the motor. So, back in a sec. Okay, the deed has been done. You should be able to make out that the vanes here are no longer bent at a perfect 90 degrees to the top. I've aimed more or less for about 45, but no doubt I'll be close but no cigar. So, the question now is how much of a excuse me, how much of a difference will this have made? So, contact. There is actually a significantly increased breeze coming this way. and I'm going to bite down on the overwhelming urge to create a slight outwards curve, because that will increase resistance, but it will increase airflow. I'm not trying to make it take off, honest. Yeah, I'm actually happy with that, because that will now give the motor a chance to remain cooler while it's working, which can only be a good thing. Still think I'm going to create some form of a guard that bolts in here. I must have something in this garage I can make that out of. I'll look into that in a bit, I think. Okay, so for now I'm going to leave it as she stands, mostly because I'm happy with it, and if you're happy you leave things alone, really, don't you? Until the next time then, thanks for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Again, any comments on inspired ways of creating some sort of guard for that steel fan that's busy whizzing around in a cheerful, happy way would be most welcome. Until the next time, take it easy, guys.